kid. Listen if you...
I'm really pleased as well that people are listening to this in the street, because this is a movement. We don't need to be preaching to the converted. We're here to reach out to you too, for you to come and listen to what's happening in your country. And we welcome you. Please come down. Now, last week, I tweeted to a member of the Green Party that this event was taking place today for Mothers Against Fracking. The Green Party are in fact the only political party in this country that oppose fracking in principle. And I'm really, really grateful to Natalie Bennet, the leader of the party, who's come along today and is going to speak to us. Natalie Bennet.
Well, thank you very much, and I have to begin with a congratulations. I'm not a mother, so I didn't have to give up anything to get out of bed this morning, but all the mothers here who gave up that lovely breakfast in bed, all the mothers who, you know, I know there's a few who've managed to persuade the children to come along, and others who are missing that nice slap-up lunch. And I think what you should do by give yourselves all a big round of applause to start off with. And I've been taken by a lot of what all of the great speakers before said. And one of the things that Vanessa said that really struck me was the gender issue. And there is a gender issue, because I spend quite a lot of my time in this building, and it really is astonishing, not just looking at the chamber, where only 22% of MPs are female, but just going around the halls, in the coffee shops and all the rest of it. That place over there is overwhelmingly male. And one of the things we have to do when we're one fracking is get more women over there. Well, I've just been told it's too ugly, but, you know, they do serve quite decent coffee at least. And, you know, it is terribly important that we get a much broader perspective of voices in there, because what we've got at the moment is a political class closely allied to the oil and gas industry, people with financial interests, people whose mates have financial interests in the oil and gas industry, and we desperately need to change that. Now, I think one of the things that I thought was really worth highlighting, and I encourage everyone to look this up, there was an article in the British Medical Journal this week. It's an article about the IPCC report, which has been widely leaked. And I just want to read to you a couple of sentences from that report. This is the British Medical Journal saying, authors there saying, the new report should leave the world in no doubt about the scale and immediacy of the threat to human survival, health and well-being of climate change. This is doctors saying this is a threat to the human future. This is an emergency, the doctors say. Immediate action is needed at every level. So one of the first things we need to say is absolutely no fracking.
No fracking!
We need to work out how to leave at least 50% of our known fossil fuel reserves in the ground if we're going to avoid catastrophic climate change. And what's fracking? Fracking is looking for more. And we must not be looking for more. We've got to work out how to prick the carbon bubble and transfer to renewable energy, and above all, to energy conservation.
Yes.
Because what we're absolutely missing in Britain when we think about energy policy is talking about conservation. We have the leakiest, hardest to heat homes in Europe.
Yeah.
£1 in 4 that we spend on heating our homes, that gas is actually wasted.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, fuel poverty is a huge issue, and it's an issue of poor quality housing, and that's we need to tackle. So, you know, the fracking, the issues are climate change. The issue is the fact we need a new energy policy, an energy policy of energy conservation and renewables. One of the great things to make a contrast of, and we need a lot more publicity about this, is tidal energy. There's currently a development application for a lagoon in Swansea Bay that 5 of those could provide 10% of our energy needs. And this is, you know, there's not no environmental impact, there is environmental impact, but there's a lot less than fracking, and it's also a British industry that we can develop here, good jobs here, and use the power of the tide. And actually I was in a meeting over there, and there was an expert there on tides who said, you know what, I can tell you when the tide's going to come in a million years' time. Now that mightn't be terribly useful a million years' time, I'll settle for, you know, the next 100 or so, but it's a message that that energy is there, all of that natural energy, the sun, the wind, the tide, and we know what they're going to cost forever, which is nothing. That's the fuel we should be using. And as other speakers have said before, we've absolutely got to tackle this claim about gas being cheap. This is utterly demonstrably true. The industry says, when David Cameron says this, it is false. And what we need to fight for is reality-based politics, and that's not what we're getting at the moment. David Cameron saying this fuel will be cheap. No, it won't. The International Energy Agency says it won't. Quadrilla says shale gas will not be cheap. And what's more, there wasn't much publicity about this, and there should have been. Last week, week before, David Cameron said after the budget, he said, "Oh, we'll be fracking by the end of the year." No. This is absolute nonsense. This was the idea there would be shale gas supplies flying by the end of the year, and the industry said, no. Well, exactly. Quadrilla, Lord Brown, and we don't like to say nice things about him very often, but he is fact-based in this case, which he says it will be 5 years before we know if there's commercially frackable gas in Britain. And David Cameron saying we're going to be fracking by the end of the year. What we need to demand is reality-based politics. You're relying on the evidence. They're not. So what I want to finish by saying is, well done to you all. I'm not a mother, but I have been thinking today about my mother. Sadly, she was killed in a car crash 25 years ago. And so I don't have any responsibilities on Mother's Day. But I feel quite proud, and I think my mother would have been quite proud that I was here today. Thank you.
So please don't frack my